In a moist corner of Australia lies the little town of Mitta. Not a lot happens in Mitta, but today it's gearing up for tomorrow's muster. And at nearby Wombat Gully, the Skeptics have gathered to discuss the next day's dowsing challenge.
Well, what we found at last year's challenge is the water diviners were a very genuine, very engaging group of people who had a very fervent belief that what they did was correct. At the end of the challenge, when none of the professional diviners had come close, we found that they had no animosity at all and treated the whole event as a social opportunity, and most of them as they left said, "We'll see you next year." So my thoughts on water divining, I don't believe it works, but I do believe the people who practice it have a sincere belief that it works. I'm hoping we can convince them it doesn't work, but I fear that we can't. But I don't really mind, because they're a very interesting group of people, and I look forward to seeing them all again tomorrow.
The mighty Mitta muster has all the traditional features of an Aussie bush fair. But one thing sets it apart. Water diviners. This is the Mitta tennis court, but there'll be a different game played here today.
Can you tell me something about the setup here for the Dowsers today?
Okay, we've got 25 bottles filled with either water or sand. The number of sand is a random number picked out of a hat between 5 and 15. People will be scored on 20 targets. The 5 that they feel least comfortable with, least confident about, they can discard, and if they don't discard them, we'll randomly discard 5 from their score sheet. And if anybody gets 17 or more right out of their 20, they can then go for the $110,000 prize in a much more tightly controlled test for the Skeptics Challenge.
Normally when you're dowsing, what is your success rate?
100%.
100%?
Yeah, I make a living at it.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Point. Walk past that one and turn to the next one.
Yeah.
4 mile away and pick it up. I used to wire and it just bends it up.
Right,
and
so
I can straighten it out again. Yeah.
You break too many sticks?
Yeah. Oh, I'll break stuff that big.
Right.
Yeah. It took the skin off my hands.
That'd be something to see.
It's not very funny, I tell you.
Before the contest could get underway, the Dowsers needed to be sure no underground streams would interfere.
No water.
No water? Good. We're right then. Not a single underground stream anywhere on the tennis court?
No, there's not.
Are you going to make sure that maybe there's no underground interference before the test go?
I just said there's a stream out there last year. There was a little stream over here last year, but that won't worry me because I can tell the difference in the pool.
At last year's event, the bottles were placed like this. The Dowsers were asked to identify any underground streams. Unfortunately, no 2 Dowsers could agree on where they might have been.
Well, underground streams have never been detected from thousands of drill holes that are put down every month looking for water, thousands of drill holes that are put down every month looking for minerals, and thousands of drill holes looking for coal. There are also thousands of shafts in Australia where people go underground to look for coal, to mine metals. Those underground streams haven't been found. Now, it's really odd that the dowsers can find them with a piece of stick, yet when you have a three-dimensional view of the earth, you don't seem to find them. Do they just sort of disappear when you put a hole in the ground?
But that stream I was telling you about, the one that's 400 feet down, I can't stand up on the actual stream. It just knocks the legs straight out from underneath me.
That's powerful.
That's moving. It's really moving the water.
The tension is building.
So, you're a young dowser.
Yes.
Yeah, and how do you normally go? Dowsing? Yeah, do you have good success?
Yes, I do. I'm very good at picking up septic tanks.
Septic tanks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That must be an interesting reaction you get for a septic tank. On the...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And can you pick up water?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And what do you think of the whole experiment here today, the whole setup? Do you think it's quite reasonable or not reasonable? Or...
Oh yeah, pretty reasonable.
Okay. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
These bottles were marked for calibration purposes only. Each dowser was accompanied by a skeptic to keep everybody happy. On a day of high tension, there was more to come. Every dowser had their own tried and true technique. Some had single wires. The tension is still building.
The lady behind you was just making a quick second. What does that mean?
You want to see it when they hit a decent one.
One guy threw it on Mitta and Eric. He's the best
Oh my God.
Some had a pendulum.
Yeah, I know.
Even two wires.
So you've just finished your trial run there. How do you think you went?
Oh, well, I worked out what was going on with them. There's sort of no problems picking it today, sort of thing. The sample bottle was interfering a little bit with one there, and maybe they should move it further back. But as far as the rest were, they're pretty clear cut which ones had water in them, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you had no trouble determining which was which.
No, there's a couple of little streams, but the only one that was alongside one, I actually eliminated the pull from the stream, and that counteracted the extra pull I got on the water. So it's sort of, there's no problem with the system they got, as far as I'm concerned. You could work on that. There is a couple of little streams, but they're not interfering enough to worry.
As long as you know about them before.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you got consistency in your bottles, they're supposed to be consistent. You don't get consistency, well, you start asking questions, sort of thing. Yeah. So today I'm saying, well, as far as I'm concerned, they're consistent. So fair enough.
Okay. Can I ask you how you think you went today?
Good.
You think it was all right? Was there anything sort of unexpected out there on the tennis court? And you got good reactions?
There's no water here underground.
Okay.
Good.
So you've completed your dowsing run, but I noticed you didn't use a dowsing tool.
No, I think if you really know how to do it, it should just happen. I don't use any extras. I just use my hands.
And did you get a good result today?
Yeah, I got 6 that I was a little bit sceptical about. I crossed out 5 and I left number 13 purely because I thought, well, you know, I've just got to lose one. It's got to be that way. But they were, most of them were, you could tell if they were sand or water, just by feeling. That was it.
Time moves slowly in Mitta. But not for everyone.
Well, what happened with the squeaky horn was, one day I was in a pub, okay, and I was sitting there, and like, you know, I put these ears on like this one day, you know,
This on top of the surface is quite...
and this person came up to me and he goes, "Oh, geez, mate, you can't come into a pub like this. What the you doing?" And I went, "Look, mate, I'm just in here for a beer." And he said, and after that, I noticed that when he squeaked the horn, I could tell which bottles of beer were full or not full on the counter. So after about 47 of them, I decided to come down here, and I thought, I'll give this a go. Well, I'm here now, and I believe that your competition, see, I'm actually supposed to say it like don't. Oh my God, it's gone out of control.
The next day, because it's been sitting so long...
But this is actually a scientific test, because the water board can find a leak in a pipe within about 2-foot radius by listening to the sound from the noise of the leak. So they go up to one end and they like listen, get their frequency device out, so it goes, and they then go back to this one and they go, and because of the difference in tone, they're then able to locate where the leak is. Now, the difference between sand and water is it has a different density. Now, technically speaking, if you're not tone deaf, you should be able to hear the difference between what's sand and what's not. The same way that you can go up to a drum, knock it and go, this is full, and this one's empty. And if it's filled with something different, you're able to go dud dud dud, different density, different sound, junk junk junk, different liquid, different sound. Therefore, I thought I better put the ears on and give it a go before someone says,
Well, each to their own device.
That is so much sand, it's not funny. Just, I get like sand in my throat. It's 20. Makes me thirsty, that one.
There are many different steps to becoming a dowser. Even standing still. While off the court, the Dowsers never stopped learning.
I thought you were doing that out there. I thought you were doing that on purpose.
I can't control it. That locks on. I can't stop it. There's no way I can stop it. When I go trick one hold the boulder close enough that it takes notice of that, so it goes off to that stream if the water gets too far away from it. if I take the water back here, you'll find your wire go back around there. Yeah, it's gone back to that screw.
I suppose dowsing is more popular in Australia than most paranormal beliefs because of the fact of geography, really. We are the driest continent, and water is an ever-present need in our society, and it isn't all that prevalent in its natural condition. So there's a big incentive for people to be able to find underground water for agriculture and for various other things. So I would think that's it's one of the main reasons why dowsing is so popular here. And it's an old folk craft, if you like. I mean, people have been dowsing for a long, long time, not just in Australia, but it attracts a certain amount of urgency here because dowsers probably started in Europe, where it usually rains, whereas here it usually doesn't. And I would think that's the reason behind it. And, I mean, dowsers, by and large, are sincere, genuine believers that they can find water, and they probably can in a lot of instances, but not because their twigs bend or their bits of wire cross over or their pendulum starts swaying, but because they know the local territory, they know where water is likely to be found. Most of them operate in their own locality, and you develop a knowledge about that. Bushies know their own area about lots of things. Dowsing is just that sort of myth that's been implanted on top of it all. I think that's the reason.
It had been a long day on the Mitta tennis court, but now it was game, set and match. Would the players be happy?
Got to be joking.
One there. Some of these others, a couple of these won't work out here.
Is it rainwater from Kelly's
They're saying
place?
it's not.
It all came out of Russell Kelly's hose this morning.
Now you're saying they're consistent.
Yes.
That one
They're
works?
all from the same
Now I'll find one that doesn't work. I went to one place and it had a bore casing. It had 3 layers of water in it, and I was a foot out on one layer.
Well, it might work there, but it's not. Your dowsing skills are not infallible here. In this test setup, they are fallible.
Now, Rosemary, when he tried it over this, it didn't work.
Yep.
Over that one, it did work. And over his sample,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Now, you're telling me that this and that are exactly the same water source?
They all came out of Russell Kelly's hose this morning. Peter Hogan and Rob Brown filled the bottles with water.
And
while I then wrapped them in
I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm saying there seems to be a differential somewhere. The complaint is now that I can pick up a certain amount of the bottles after they're uncovered, the same as I could pick up them before, but there's some bottles I can't pick up at all. They're telling me that they're consistent. Now what is the difference between the ones I can pick up and the ones I can't?
What do you think might be the difference?
The only explanation is that they're dripping water, but they're saying not. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I've got a sample bottle of my own water, and it doesn't adhere to their bottles.
Okay.
So the ones that I can't pick up with their bottles, to me, are the same as my own bottle.
So it would seem to you that it's different water?
What other explanation?
That water is less than 10 foot down to it. It works on that water. So it's the difference between the test water and the water out there in bottles. That water I'm picking up is less than 10 feet. That's what cancels out. That's rainwater. That's what you do, alright?
Jan right. Can you come to the broadcast area, please? That's right.
It's not rainwater.
Well, there's one left to go.
He's the same opinion as me. putting bottles of rainwater.
Right, okay.
Because he dips his wire in the rainwater and it won't work on it. Yeah, that's what we've got to find out. Why do we get our reaction on some and not the other?
Well, that's the tap water. Now where were we up there?
That one.
That one there. Wouldn't work with the rainwater, would it?
No.
That's not rainwater, right? Yep. Tap water.
Tap water.
Tap water within 10 feet. They're not the same. Where's the stream? Where are we putting these there? Yeah, on the top end, they're all rainwater. They're not the same water as the test one.
Yes, they are. They're exactly the same. They all came out of the same container. All the water here came out of the same container.
Something different, do you think, this year?
Yeah, I wasn't able to pick them as good.
Okay, just not the day.
Probably not. You're right. See you around.
Do you think this test was, it may have been a bit unusual, but do you think it was fair?
Well, when I won last year I didn't have any problems. But I knew nothing about it. So I feel that the one question I want to know is whether anybody divined beforehand to find if there was any streams underneath the tennis courts.
Yes, the older man who was here, who's left now, he did that.
He did that?
And he declared it clear.
He did, okay. And apart from that, I mean, in all intents and purposes, I think the test is fair. You know, the only other way would be an extremely complicated way, which is to have sort of running water that can't be seen, like intermittent running and no water or something like that, because I think a lot of people that are diviners, they're used to going out in the field where they're walking along, or, you know, there's running water in the ground, but how to test whether it's all accurate or true scientifically, how to prove it, I've got no idea.
I guess this is a start.
It is, yeah, it is.
What's the story? What's happening at the moment?
Well, we haven't seen any evidence yet that dowsing works. The scores are the score sheets that have been marked so far, the numbers are clustered around where the middle of the bell curve will be, and the highest score so far is 13 out of 20. But we're not finished yet.
I also think that because water divining has been so misunderstood over the years, and no one knows a great deal about divining stagnant water, I'm quite convinced that if you did some real severe training on it and started being able to get the results that you were actually looking for and really do some good training, you might find that there might be some quite good people.
I think the biggest problem is that actually no one has enough money. So if you're talking about water drilling and you're saying, if you go along and divine and you say, well, okay, I think the stream's here, drill here, and it could be down so many or about this many feet, it costs thousands of dollars to drill. So, and that's the only conclusive evidence or proof in a way that you could do a real test.
9, sand. Since this morning, they've lost half of their pool.
All of them?
The water that I could pick up has lost half of their pool.
Why did this?
The rate that they pull at is dropping as electricity drops off.
What makes the electricity drop off?
They've been sitting.
Okay.
When you run them out of the tap first thing, they've got electricity in them.
Right.
The longer you leave them, the less electricity. I can hold most of them out there now without any trouble at all. You've seen how much it affected me this morning, and now I've got no amount of reaction at all. For me, yeah, because I always maintain I'll pick up static electricity, not the water. So if they're not shook up, you can't pick up stationary water.
So you can make electricity, you can make water electrically charged with static electricity by shaking it. Well, that's a new one on me.
Now the complaint is, of course, that the water lost its electric charge during the day.
Yes, because it stopped flowing when we got it out of the hose and put it in the bottle. But it can be recharged now. It works when he goes and shakes it up. So the new physics is that you can charge water with static electricity by shaking it. Okay. We've discovered a new physical principle here today.
If the Dowsers had picked on pure chance, this is the way the graph would have looked. If, however, they'd had 75% success, it would have looked like this. This is the reality. More in line with chance. 2 Dowsers achieved 13 out of 20, the highest score of the day. The Skeptics and their money will return. We hope the Dowsers will too, drawn to Mitta like a dog to a bone. The gang turned up armed with wire and wood to locate the water wherever they could by reading vibrations that come from the ground, which show where the water was sure to be found. They came to win money at the Dowsers convention with prayers of hope for divine intervention to help them to sense the old H2O. Then one by one, they all had a go. Chance predicted the success they would face as they searched for the water all over the place, at the muster in the hills up Mitta way. And with the loot on the line, they were ready to play. Walking in a circle or in a crisscross line, with a weight of belief in the autumn sunshine, making sweat on their brows as they tried to tell which was just sand and where was the well. Then the sun went down on the muster at Mitta, and the sweet taste of victory had turned a bit bitter, for the Dowsers and diviners had failed to find water. Maybe their rods should have been longer or shorter. The contestants blamed static and streams and fences that disturbed the waves and twiddled their senses, but the Skeptics went home with their booty intact, because none could prove that dowsing's a fact.